All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 360 Sports Show. We're coming to you live, as always, Sunday mornings at 11 through Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch. You can like, follow, and subscribe to us on all those platforms. Never miss a show when we go live. And you can also subscribe to the 360 Sports Show through Sounder FM or wherever you get your podcast from, so you can take the 360 Sports Show on the go. I'm Andrew Fazzelli. He's Christian Lauber. If you have any questions for us, drop them in the comments for the live stream. Or you can always email the 360 Sports Show at gmail.com at any time throughout the show or throughout the week, and we'll get to them throughout the program. We will be doing our top 5 favorite Christmas movies at the end of the program, so if you haven't gotten those in yet, make sure you can drop them in the comment section, or you can email the360sportshow at gmail.com with your top 5 favorite Christmas movies, and we will discuss those and reveal ours at the end. But first, like always, we're going to check in with Christian here and get how many days left in 2020.
Yeah, we're down the wire now. 12 days. 5 to Christmas, 12 to the end of the year.
Woo! Flying. Flying by. Doesn't it feel like it's gone by so fast, Christian, this year?
Yes. Greatest.
Uh, so we're gonna we don't have a ton to roll through for the show today, like we did last 2 weeks. It was just like so jam packed with stuff, but we do have some things that will take some time to pick through. So let's start first, because it's freshest in our minds with our college focus. So we kind of there's so many games each week we can't watch all of them. But we try to pick the ones that are most interesting to us, and we each kind of focus on something different. So we'll start with college football. Christian, which games did you focus in on on the college football side, or what stands out to you from the week in college football?
The big one obviously is Northwestern Ohio State. I didn't watch it through and through, but I caught some of the highlights. Um, it was pretty good back and forth, at least in the first half. You're up 10-6 if you're Northwestern, and then can't get the ball in the end zone. The second half, you don't score any points in the third or fourth quarter, and that's pretty much the game right there. You're not going to hold Ohio State down, 4 quarters. It's just not going to happen. And then, we'll pick through that one a little bit. Clemson and Notre Dame, obviously, Clemson ran away with that one. Not much of a game. And Alabama, Florida. That was the other one that I caught.
Yeah, the Northwestern Ohio State one is the one that kind of like bugged me the most because I really wanted. I don't want Ohio State in the top 4. I just felt like not playing enough games, even though like legally, yes, they've played enough games to satisfy the requirements. But I just felt like they were the reason games were being canceled. Like they couldn't control their COVID situation at times, and so they were having to not play games. I just feel like you have to play like enough. You have to have a bigger sample size to put you in the top 4. And so, some of their wins, it's not like they've been. It's not like Clemson over Notre Dame. It's not like Alabama rolling over people. I mean, 2 of their near losses were ugly games, and I know that doesn't count. Winning's what matters, but when you're being selected to a top 4 based off of a committee, style points do matter,
Yeah.
especially if you're going to be the 4th team in. So I was rooting for Northwestern because I said if Ohio State loses, they're not getting in. They're not going to be in the top 4. Um, and Northwestern had their chances. Their defense kept Ohio State out of the end zone for so long. They kept them in that game. And the Northwestern coaching staff, whether it was the head coach, whether it was offensive coordinators, whoever was making the play calls on offense, I've never seen a team ruin their own momentum more in a single game with one play. Multiple times they're having great drives. This is when Northwestern had the lead and could have added to the lead. They could have gone up 11. They could have gone up 15, 14. They could have added to their lead, and instead they would like have a great drive going. Okay, 1st and 10 at the Ohio State 35. Let's call a reverse pass. Okay, maybe you feel like you have a chance for a big play, and it gets completely blown up and they lose like 20 yards. That should tell you, all right, well, that didn't work. Well, we fired our shot, and that's it. Second half, the same thing happens. They call that play again. And the same thing happens. It gets blown up, and it totally stalls a good drive. It blows my mind how often coaches, hey, we ran the ball twice and we got a lot of good yardage, or we called this pass play and got great results. Let's do something completely different now. Let's do a gadget play. More often than not, that just doesn't work. It never works, and they ruin their own momentum, and then it just let Ohio State hang around. Ohio State was lucky to be in that game, and there was a period of time where neither team kind of seemed. Ohio State was doing their best to lose it, and Northwestern was doing their best not to take it. And then they hung around, and then Trey Sermon went bananas in the second half. Rushed for, let me see, 331 yards. So he ran up and down the football field 3 times and then some on just 29 carries. Oh, just insane. Breaks the Ohio State all-time single-game record set by Eddie George back in 1995. So yeah, I mean, in the fourth quarter, Northwestern really struggled to get stops, but they should have been ahead. That's my big takeaway from that game. And so now Ohio State, is probably going to be in the top 4. But as Christian, like I try to take it back to things we see who are good coaching. Super Bowl 53, Pats, Rams. That last really significant offensive drive where the Patriots went down and get a touchdown. You watch the Bill Belichick do your job thing, and even during the game, Romo was pointing it out. Oh, the Patriots just ran the same play 5 times.
Yeah.
They just spread it out with base personnel, and they just went, you're running a hitch, you're running a seam, Edelman, option route over the middle. And they ran that play 4 straight times. Chunk, chunk, chunk. And McDaniel said, until they stop it, we're going to keep calling it. There's a time to say, okay, we're just running into a brick wall. We don't need to keep calling the same play. If something works, keep calling it again. Make them prove they can stop it. And coaches just get in their own way sometimes, and that pisses me off.
I mean, if you score 10 points in a game, you're not going to win most times. Unless you're facing a far superior or inferior opponent, you're not going to win a game 10-6, 10-3. So Ohio State was going to get back in the game. They're only down 4 at half, and then they come out and score. But Northwestern scores 0 points in the second half, and there's your game. That's really all that you can take away is that you don't score points in the second half, you're not going to win. I mean, Ohio State's good, and they're not as good maybe as past years, but they're still a good team. And you just can't let that happen. You can't not get in the end zone in the second half, or even a field goal, and expect to be in the game late and potentially win it.
Yeah, just frustrating because I thought they took themselves out of that game. Other things, because I just kind of write down notes about the game because I watched most of this game. Brandon Joseph, Northwestern corner, end of the first half. If you hadn't seen it, go back and watch highlight level, Odell Beckham Jr. level interception. I mean, just freakish, absolutely freakish. So there was a lot of good plays. I mean, for kind of an ugly game, there was a lot of good plays. And yeah, Ohio State tried to lose. They tried, and did not. So we'll get into our kind of our predictions for the top 4. The other game you mentioned was Florida Alabama. It looked like Alabama was going to absolutely run away with that game yesterday, and then Florida, kind of just runs out of time there at the end. But I think Florida did what they came close to doing what they thought was going to be their path, which was to beat LSU and then go and be representable against Alabama. I think even if they won yesterday, they weren't going to have a shot at getting into the top 4. You definitely think, though, I mean, I'd rather see them, honestly, I'd rather see them than Notre Dame, because Notre Dame got annihilated by Clemson with Trevor Lawrence. Notre Dame's signature win of the year is against Clemson without Trevor Lawrence. With Trevor Lawrence, not even a contest. I think Notre Dame plays Alabama, they're going to get blown off the field. So I would rather see Florida get in there, but sorry, you lost to LSU, and then you did lose to Alabama, and now you've got, 3 losses?
Yeah. Yeah,
So sorry, that's just the rub, right?
yeah. I mean, it's a weird year. Like Ohio State is hasn't. I don't even know how many games they've played at this point. 6, 7. Whereas other teams have 8, 9, 10. So it's just one of those
Yes.
years. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get in if you're a top team somehow, even though you played 4 less games. But uh, hey, this is where we're at. At least there's games.
Yeah. Yeah. Florida's 8-3. Ohio is 6-0. So let's see. Florida's losses were to, where is it? They lost to Texas A&M. Who A&M? We'll get into them in a minute when we talk about our top four. They lost. So all right, that's 3 losses. They lost to A&M. They lost to LSU. That was a bad loss. Really bad. We talked about that last weekend. And they lose to Alabama. Now they look great. I mean, Trask. Um, we'll talk about him a little bit more when we talk about NFL teams searching for quarterbacks. But I'm sold on Trask and his. I think his ability to play at the NFL level
Yeah.
and some of the intangible things as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, Florida, they should be in. They will be or would be more competitive than Notre Dame. But Notre Dame's gonna get in. I mean, do you feel the same way I feel, Christian, that they shouldn't be in the top four only because I think if they don't have that win against Clemson, they're probably not there, and that win against Clemson is tainted. And clearly, yesterday they got blown off the field.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Clemson is a much superior opponent with Lawrence, the best player in college, on the field. I mean, that's pretty clear. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, it'd be nice to see like Florida is not a bad team, but they also give up 100 points a game. So
Yeah, no defense.
whichever way you look, I mean, Notre Dame, I think, is definitely a little bit flawed in that the marquee win, as you mentioned, was against a Lawrence-less Clemson. So like, what does that really mean? I don't know. Like, it was a big win, sure, but I mean, with the best player out due to COVID, I mean, how much can you take away from that? I don't think much.
Yeah. So, who's your top four? Who's going to make the college football playoff? Who do you think should be your top four, and who will be the top four? Put it that way.
Clemson, obviously. Alabama, probably. I mean, have they lost a game? I don't think so. Alabama's probably
Nope.
11 now, right?
11-0.
11-0. I don't want to see Ohio State, but I'm guessing they can be in that conversation. Um, and then just for fun, Boise State.
Boise State. Um, Alabama's going to be number one. Clemson's going to be number two, especially after the way they handled Notre Dame yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think
Like Ohio
Notre
Florida,
Dame,
right?
Notre Dame has fallen into question. So I think the top three that are in: Alabama, Clemson, and unfortunately, yes,
Yeah,
Ohio State
Ohio
is in.
State.
The next three, or the fourth spot. I really think there's three teams that could have a shot. Um, Notre Dame's the most likely to get in, but don't discount Texas A&M. I mean, they beat Florida. Uh, they have that win. Their only loss is to Alabama, so I wouldn't discount Texas A&M being in. Um, and I mean, Cincinnati is 9-0. They beat Tulsa, UCF. Um, they're the AAC champion. I mean, they have a chance. It's like the Patriots. There's a path, but I mean, it's the percentages are low.
Yeah.
So odds are Notre Dame just because of how they've been ranked all season. But I wouldn't be shocked if A&M gets that spot, and frankly, I'd be happy because I think Notre Dame doesn't deserve to be in in the top four. Um, so um, I'd love to see A&M in there.
Yeah,
Give
I
me a
wouldn't mind
different team.
A&M. Sure. Why not? Yeah, I mean, it'd be better than Notre Dame. I feel like Notre Dame is just going to go in there and get kind of trounced right in the first game. I don't know. Like, No, they're impressive in some ways, but not in others. I don't know. Every game that I see against like you mentioned, it was the game against Clemson was the most notable, right? They've beat up on Duke and USF and Pitt and Louisville, but like I don't know how much you can take away from that. Whereas if you see a team like I don't know Florida or even A&M sneak in, I think that'd be more compelling.
Yeah, I think the game would be better because if Notre Dame makes it as the 4, they're playing Alabama, and guess what? That game, which will be when will that bowl game be? That'd be New Year's Day. New Year's Day Eve. I don't want to be watching Alabama winning 56-10.
Yeah,
I'd like to see a good game. I'd like to have it be in doubt that we're just going to see Alabama Clemson like again.
yeah,
Um,
pretty much.
it'd be nice to have something different. So um, that's our college focus on football. What about college basketball, Christian? Any big takeaways from the week in college basketball for you?
Um, I mean, just in the, I feel like some teams are starting to kind of creep ahead of others. You're starting to see like the lay of the land a little bit, um, on the men's side anyway. And it's the ranked teams are starting to come through and beat up on the lesser teams. Whereas in the first couple of weeks, it was kind of all over the place where teams were taking games off whoever. Um, but Wisconsin, blew out Louisville. They're both ranked, but the top team there got the win. Same with Villanova St. Joe's. Obviously, Gonzaga's undefeated against the third ranked team. So I feel like some of these teams now are kind of creeping into that conversation of okay, these are the teams that you got to look at, and then the lesser opponents are kind of falling back. As in previous years. Obviously non-COVID, but we saw in the first couple of weeks that teams were kind of taking games off one another in these neutral environments, and now the bigger teams are starting to come through and take games.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, like you said, the cream has started to settle.
Yeah.
Um, my focus kind of was still locally. We've talked a lot about PC and URI because we kind of got connected, pretty embedded with them last year. So we're just continuing to keep tabs. PC finally will get to play today after
Yeah.
having a whole bunch of their games canceled. So they'll get back out there on the floor, I believe, against Seton Hall today. I think that game is at 4:30. Yep, PC versus Seton Hall. So that's a big game. PC's 4-2, Seton Hall's 5-3, conference game. So that'll be important uh, for Providence because they haven't played a conference game yet. Um,
They haven't
so
played
that that
basketball in like 11 days here, so it's going to be interesting.
yeah, yeah. It's got to be so hard, right? I mean, these guys they don't play since March. And then you come back, you have a quick camp, and then you're hey, play games without fans in neutral settings,
Yeah.
and oh, and still, man, we all know how sometimes it works, but try and still be a student, right? I mean, these kids are still having to pass class. I'm not saying get A's. We
Yeah.
know a lot of them major in eligibility, but still having to balance all of that. It's not like it's just a job like it is for the NBA players, and they can just focus on it day in and day out. They've got school to still focus on as well, and try and remain eligible to play basketball. So it's a lot, and then you've probably finally just start to hit a groove, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, COVID's going to take away your next 3 games. So
Yep.
that's tough. Um, and then for URI, they're kind of skidding. They play today. Or no, they play. I think they've had a bunch of games moved too. They might not play until yeah, they don't play again until the 30th. So they're in the same boat. I mean, they lost to Wisconsin, Western Kentucky. They were playing that game last week during the show. They lose by 3, so that's a tough game. And then
Yeah.
they same deal. They kind of like hang around and lose to Davidson, and then now a whole bunch of time off. St. Bonaventure, that's a must-have game for URI. I mean, a team that's they're 2-0, but they're kind of in the same pack in the conference. So you gotta the one thing I'll say positive news for all these teams. they finally announced their like schedules, the remaining schedule. It had all
Yeah.
just been kind of been sitting, waiting in the weaves. Now we know games at least through February, for both of these teams. So I guess that's good. That's
Hopefully.
it's like reading the tea leaves there, Christian. Like if they're scheduling the games, it says that at least there's confidence that those games will happen, and it's confidence in other leagues and other conferences and even other divisions to say we'll probably be able to get this done and have collegiate athletics.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be a good thing. That's for sure. It's kind of not great to have a team take 12 days off, but it is what it is. I mean, they have to just deal with it, kind of plow ahead. Um, unfortunately, it's not their fault either. It's the other teams that are coming through with these situations. But you have Providence and URI now both sitting there waiting. So URI needs to get a couple wins back because they're sliding. They're 3-5, lost two in a row, um, three in a row actually, and so it's important for them to get back in games. And now you're gonna have to wait more. So I don't know if that helps or hurts them, but I can't imagine it helps them a whole lot.
Yeah. If you have any questions or thoughts for us on during our college focus or any topics throughout the show, you can drop a comment in any of the comment sections on the live streams through Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch. You can also email the show, the360sportshow at gmail.com. At any point with a thought, question, comment, or concern, anything you want to bring to the table, we'll be more than willing to talk about. We had a great listener question brought up boxing. We ended up having like a whole half-hour segment on boxing last week, which was fantastic. Um, Christian, do you have any other last notes on college basketball?
No, that was it. Yeah.
All right. I had one interesting thing. The only college hockey happening right now is D1. And their season's actually been going for a couple of weeks now. Their top four rankings wise is Minnesota, BC, Minnesota Duluth, and North Dakota. Minnesota 8-0 right now, looking very impressive. But I just wanted to bring up. I was looking through the USCHO D1 rankings, and I'm picking through. Okay, this team, that team. I a lot of the familiar names. Providence is actually in there. They're 1 and 2. They're ranked 19th right now in the tree. But then I'm looking at the bottom. Others receiving votes. And what team do I see here receiving 22 votes to be a top hockey team in the country? Bemidji State, home of one Gunnar Olszewski.
Nice.
Anytime I can drop Bemidji State in, I feel almost obligated. So that was my one note. Nothing earth shattering from the hockey world yet. But I just thought Bemidji State.
Bemidji State.
Cool. I don't even know, where is Bemidji State. I feel like is that Dakotas somewhere?
It's gotta be out. Yeah, it's gotta be out that way.
I feel like Minnesota. Oh, go figure. It's in Bemidji, Minnesota. So
There you go. That's hockey country.
Which let's see. I mean, I imagine it's got to be. Let's see where this is. It's on a lake. Is it Lake Bemidji? It is Lake Bemidji. Pretty much. Yeah, northwestern, kind of like the northern middle part of Minnesota. So, the sticks.
You're talking
So,
Minnesota, and Gunnar chose to play football. That's an interesting concept. I don't know.
yeah. So, anywho, that's our college focus for this week. If you have any other thoughts about the college landscape, football, basketball, hockey, or any other collegiate sport that you want to bring to our attention, get our thoughts on. Anything we didn't touch on, you can certainly drop a question in the comment section or through email, the360sportshow@gmail.com, and we'll get to that. Moving along, I mean, the big news, the big stuff coming this week is that the NBA season is returning. I think the first games start either on the 22nd or the 23rd. Preseason is pretty much concluded now. So I figured today, Christian, we can give kind of our last kind of thoughts on the preseason, and then we'll kind of go ahead and pull out the crystal ball here and at least try and predict, and we'll seed the playoffs today before the season even starts. That way we can have something to go back to and see how we did.
My favorite thing to do is base it off preseason, just because it's kind of like silly season where you can just say whatever you want and then prove yourself right or wrong, and I enjoy that.
LaMelo Ball is going to be MVP. But yeah, so I guess first, any closing thoughts you have from the preseason and what we've seen in those games for any of the teams?
So the two most notable to me are the Celtics stink and the Nets. The Nets are for real, and I think it's pretty evident, ending injuries here, that Kevin Durant is back. He's been absolutely sensational already. I mean, obviously it's preseason, but the guy hasn't played in like 500 days in a game. So, yeah, I mean, he was really good in both preseason games. Um, and the Nets look like, I mean, their roster up and down is just it's kind of insane. Um, Not just because of Kyrie and Durant, but you just look at their roster. They got DeAndre Jordan, who will give you, something in the middle, which is good. But then you got Joe Harris, Dinwiddie, uh, Jeff Green off the bench, Prince off the bench, Levert off the bench. So Jared Allen off the bench. So they have, and Shamit too now. So that team is loaded, and if they can kind of keep it together, which in 2 games, it seems like they will, obviously, but the Kyrie effect there is probably, we'll see what happens. But him and Durant together, and I will say, for all my gripes with Kyrie off the court, on the court, the guy is phenomenal. I mean, his talent is unreal, and he's been good again here in the first preseasons. And it's important for this team because these 2 guys haven't played games. They've both been injured. Durant, we don't know what he's going to be, but he looks already back, and he looks like he's on another level again. Now, granted, he was playing a G League Celtics team, so I don't know how much I can take away from that. But yeah, that's the team that's most notable, and I wanted to keep an eye on. And the other one was Milwaukee because, for what it's worth, the preseason, they're 0-3 in the preseason, and they don't look,
Hmm.
you know, to be this formidable force. Maybe it's because of the crowd. I don't know, but Giannis got the huge extension, and Middleton obviously is what he is, and same with Drew Holiday. So I don't know how much better they're going to be. It's going to be interesting to see that team. But other than those two, I mean, my focus is on the Nets and the Celtics, really.
Yeah, I think the Bucks won a lot of games last year because Brooke Lopez was knocking down threes, and they have one of the best home courts. You take out home court, and you take out a center having probably just like a statistically anomalous year, unless Giannis makes leaps and bounds. I don't think they're any better. Maybe can they situationally be better with Holiday, but I don't think we've said this again and again and again. Drew Holiday is a great player. He is he is like a Marcus Smart type of player. He's going to bring intangibles. He's going to bring defense. He's got more offense than Marcus Smart has, but at least from an individual standpoint, they both do a lot in terms of they're very similar types of player as far as what you're going to get on the stat sheet and intangibles from them. Does you want Marcus Smart on your team, but you're not saying like Marcus Smart is the reason you're winning a championship. The reason you win championships, and I know you've said this, Christian, you agree, is with star players. Now, I happen to think for the Celtics that Tatum and Brown, and if Kemba can get healthy, that those are your stars that carry you, and then it's role players, significant role players who help you win championships.
Mhm.
Who is it after Giannis? I mean, Middleton is great, but those two have been together for a long time now, and it hasn't worked. They haven't been able to get over the hump. You wonder, is Middleton the next DeMar DeRozan? Is he the guy that like was always the running mate, and then he's going to get traded for like James Harden, the way
Yeah.
DeRozan was traded for Kawhi Leonard for a year? Um, I don't know. I agree. I just don't know where that roster is going to go. I don't see the Bucks winning a championship this year. So what do you do with that roster next year? And then the money committed to Giannis and some of these other guys, you gave up all of your draft picks to get Drew Holiday. I would have done that to get James Harden or to get, a Bradley Beal, an
Right.
actual number two that you can pair with Giannis. So I don't know. I don't know what that's going to bear watching is what happens with the Bucks. How far do they slide, especially not having the home court? I agree with everything you said about the Nets. I tend to think though that the Nets are going to go wrong some here because either the young guys are having success and Kyrie for some reason gets mad about that, Uh, the they trade the young guys to get James Harden because they're enamored with pairing those three, Harden, Irving, and Durant together, and I think that would be a big mistake. I think that doesn't work. Or you trade Kyrie for Harden. I think if you put Harden on that team in any form or fashion, what you're taking away on the floor makes you a worse team. I know that sounds
100%.
stupid to say, but it makes you a worse team. The best version of that team is Kyrie getting along with everybody. If Kyrie
100%
gets along
agree.
with everybody, that team as composed is dangerous.
Yeah.
Could be the best team in the league. Everybody kind of tends to think though that they're going to do the stupid things, which is either to trade for James Harden or trade Kyrie because he's screwing it up with the young guys. And if that any of that happens, they're not gonna. They'll be good, but not great.
Yeah, I just think their roster is so good. I mean, you look at it up and down. Like I just mentioned some names off of it. Like once you go to the bench, their bench guys are better than some starting rosters.
Oh yeah.
Like Levert and these guys can play. Like in my opinion, Levert is a starter that's going to come off the bench.
How long can that last though? That's the thing. This is not 2K.
Well, I think
How long does it last? We said that about the Celtics 2 years ago. Oh, Terry Rozier could be a starting point guard who's coming off the bench. Marcus Morris is a starter who's coming off the bench. I mean, eventually, if everybody buys in, is Steve Nash going to get all these guys to buy in? That's what it really hinges on.
I think so. I mean, I ultimately think so. I think Kyrie and Durant are both keen on the same page. They want to win a championship, and I think the other guys around them will not. If they're winning games, they're not going to have a problem with anything. Like I don't see how if your team is 21-3, you're going to have a problem. I just don't see it, and I think their roster's too good not to win a ton of games. Obviously we only have preseason based, to go off of, but I think Durant when he's healthy is 1A in the league. So, I mean the guy's insane. So if he's right, and pending any injury problems, hopefully that doesn't happen. That team will be number 1, 2 in the East, no doubt.
Speaking of injuries, it's sad and it's almost comical at the same time. Gordon Hayward's hurt again.
Yeah. Shock.
At first, you'd think he's not in Boston anymore, so it can't be the curse of Isaiah Thomas that keeps injuring him. So what is it? Is the dude not drinking his milk? Does he have a vitamin D deficiency from spending so much time inside gaming? Is that what it is? Because the guy seems to have soft bone. He has an avulsion of his pinky finger. He ripped a tendon off the bone, which broke bones off of his pinky finger. I mean, the guy. I feel bad. I mean, I want to see the guy succeed.
He's making
and he
$30
has
million.
he has these really weird, freakish. The first injury, the big one, the leg ankle, completely freakish, whatever. But then these like recent ones. The way he broke his hand against San Antonio last year, they're kind of like, I'm not saying he is soft, but they're soft injuries, right? It's just like, oh, I brushed a guy and I broke a finger. Like, how?
Same in the playoffs. He went up for a rebound, came down and sliced his ankle, and now this one. So, I don't know. I don't want to say he's brittle. I think he has some bad luck, honestly. But he can't stay healthy one way or another. That's really the point. I mean, he can't stay on the court. And now Charlotte is right back to being like number 10 in the East. So,
yeah, I know.
I don't know.
It's bizarre. And now I honestly can't believe it. It's like everybody saw it coming, and we said it. How long? That contract will only be as good as Gordon Hayward's healthy. And even if he's healthy, is he even the same guy anymore? Can he regain all-star form? That first preseason game, they looked like they were running around like it was Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and then they came down to earth a little bit, but that's because it's a preseason game. You take your starters out. They looked like they could be a little sparky, exciting, a really oddly put-together team that maybe finds a way to be an 8 seed in the East. Yeah, no shot now.
Not anymore. No way.
No shot. Because guess what's going to happen? Who's going to get the minutes? And then when Gordon Hayward's healthy and he comes back, that guy gets upset.
Rozier, yeah.
Yeah, oh my God, Terry. Yeah, because they move Ball to point guard because they want Ball and Hayward on the floor at the same time, and T-Row gets all angry again.
Yep.
Ah, Gordon Hayward, no.
Curse of Gordon Hayward for Terry. Yeah.
So it's just insane how he keeps getting hurt. Again, like we said, we wish him the best. Get healthy, play well. I like Gordon Hayward the person very much, and I want to see him succeed. I mean, he got his money either way, so I mean, I'm not gonna cry a river for him. Um, but it's just unfortunate for his career. Um, Christian, before we get into seeding here, the playoffs. What are your thoughts here on the Celtics through 2 preseason games?
Nothing good. I don't. I think with the injuries to Thompson and Kemba, for this team, they're huge injuries. Because when you look at their roster, they have a bunch of guys that are not. They don't know where to be. They are lost. Neesmith and Pritchard are both. They look like rookies. Neesmith looks absolutely lost. He can shoot, but he looks like he has nowhere. No idea where to be on the court. Rob Williams still doesn't know where to be. Um, he hasn't been good. And then I think your best offensive player has been Jeff Teague. So that does not bode well. Smart's taking 6 threes a game and making one. That's great. Mid-season form already. Tatum has been solid, not great shooting, but that'll come. And same with Brown. But I'll tell you this. I mean, just watching these 2 games, Tatum comes off the floor. This team is screwed without like Kemba and these guys. I'm telling you, they don't have much coming from behind him. Whereas, if he went to the bench before, you have Hayward maybe that picks up some of those minutes. Brown is still in the game, and off you go. When he goes to the bench, you have something named Peyton Pritchard coming in the game, or Javonte Green, who's in the starting lineup. Brad Stevens. With those 2 injuries, to Kemba and Thompson, they're going to struggle here early on, no doubt.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think when Thompson and Kemba are healthy, this team can be really good. I think the stuff that Thompson brings to the table, one from his ability, but his mentality. A guy who's got that champion. He's won a championship. He's a hard nosed player. I think he'll give them that little bit of extra grit and grind that they need. To be a leader, a guy that's been there, done that, will have some respect in the locker room, and might be that extra ingredient that they've needed to like get over the hump here and get to a finals. Um, you know, I still believe the expectations for this team is to make an NBA Finals. That's the expectations. Less than that is a failure, just because of their growth. Right? You look at the growth chart, and it's been like, okay, start with like Jaylen Brown being on this team in his rookie year. It's like, okay, conference final. Then you get Tatum, another conference final. Then down year, back to the conference final. They should be making that next step now to get to the finals. Now, I think at the beginning of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if they're 500 until February, because I agree. I think without Kemba, without Thompson, and asking guys like Pritchard and Neesmith to come in and be, you know, solid role players after having not played in a game since, again, March, is difficult. It's a big ask. These guys need time to acclimate. Now, if they play great out of the shoot, I mean that's awesome. I mean, I think the expectations for those guys should be couched a little bit. But so I would be surprised if they struggle here out of the gates. I will say, you know, offensively, yes, they need those other guys back. I think they can be better. They need to be better defensively than they've shown in the preseason. They can be way better defensively with the guys that they had on the floor.
Well, yeah,
That's
I
the
mean, they
thing.
haven't played any defense, so I mean, they can't get any worse.
Exactly. Now, how much of that is it's preseason? How much of that is the factors of time? You have some guys. It goes both ways. Oh, I haven't played since March. I ain't trying to go out and roll an ankle in preseason game number 1. Or I played until October. I'm not trying to blow out my Achilles in preseason game number 1. I'm going to kind of take it easy here and maybe not try and do some things. Who knows? Now, when the rubber meets the road and it's time to start playing real games, and in a shortened season, every game's going to matter a little bit more. we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think they're going to struggle to start. I'll be pleasantly surprised if they don't. And I guess kind of as we go along, we'll assess the growth of the team with the rookies, but also guys like Tatum, who have talked about,
Yeah.
hey, I went back and watched the conference finals. I need to be making more plays. I need to recognize faster the way guys are defending me, guys are coming to trap me or blitz me, and I can make plays for others. And I think he can. I think he could be a near triple double guy. He's been a very good rebounder. He's obviously a phenomenal offensive talent. I think that next step is more of the passing, which he's steadily done. He's steadily gotten better at not just being able to physically pass the ball, but recognition and getting guys the ball. So
Well, I think he's been good in the preseason just from these 2 first games. I think he's made a note to himself to do that. The problem is he's passing to guys who can't shoot. So, I mean, ultimately, it's like I think at this point in these first, number of games here, he's going to have to be the man. If you have an obvious pass to Smart, Brown, someone like that, sure, or even the lob between him, Tice, and him and Rob Williams is good. So that's an out. But I mean, the difference is you're shooting 20% from three, and you're letting the other team shoot 50, 46%.
oh yeah, the
So
three
there's your
point shoot
game.
3-point shooting needs to be much. You can't shoot 20-something% from three and win games in today's NBA. Impossible because of the volume of threes that you're taking.
Yeah.
Rob Williams is also a guy I've been disappointed in. Offensively, he has such a great feel. I feel like he does. He can move the ball. You're not afraid of him like having the ball in his hands, like at the top of the key. Like Celtics run a lot of plays like that. His feel for navigating the paint and getting to the rim, great. Defensively, his feet are so slow. It's for a guy with that length, and you know what I think it is? I think it's a guy. When you're that big in high school and college, you don't need to be quick because you can make up for it with length. And in the NBA, everybody's got length. So, you watch him being able to get out on shooters, even a guy that's as slow as Joel Embiid, you know, not able to get out there fast enough to close the distance. I'm sure in high school, he could just stick his arm up and whatever 5'10" guard is trying to shoot, or even another big who might only be 6'5" is like, this guy.
Yeah.
Well, in the NBA, it's not intimidating. So, he's gonna. You see it offensively. Like the guy's not slow. It's recognition, and being able to get there faster. So
I think he's good in spurts. I think like if Thompson is healthy, Thompson's your guy, and then I think Tice is a perfectly fine bench player. And then obviously you can throw in Rob when you have some extra minutes there that you need someone to just kind of fill. And I think he's good in small spurts, like I said. I mean, he just doesn't. He can't do it for like starter minutes. I just don't see it.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because I think he's so talented, but we'll see. If the season hinges on Rob Williams' development, then it's not going anywhere.
Oh, they're screwed.
So,
Yeah.
so that's that. So let's kind of get into this, very early prediction mode here. If you have any NBA thoughts or questions, you can drop a line in the comment section, or you can email the 360 Sports Show at gmail.com. We'll get to those here on the show, or if you catch us or you're listening to this as a podcast, you can always still email us during the week, and we'll get to those in our mailbag segment. So let's start with the West, and we'll work our way from top to bottom, and we'll see who's out. And we'll see if we agree here or not. So, Christian, who's the number one team in the West?
In the West, I'm going to say the Los Angeles Lakers.
I completely agree. No analysis needed because they are the champs. Their roster got better. They're going into the finals again, in my opinion. So, Lakers number one.
They're a wagon.
All right, number two.
Everybody else is kind of in the same boat, I feel like, in this conference. I will probably say Golden State at this stage, just because Curry's back. He looks pretty good. And obviously Draymond's hurt, but yeah, I'll go Golden State there.
Yeah, I think number two is interesting for me, but I won't argue with Golden State there. for the same reasons. Some guys are healthy. They added to that team. So unfortunate about the Tristan Thompson injury, but I'll settle. I can. We definitely can agree on Golden State number two.
Clay
Number
Thompson,
three.
right? Clay Thompson.
Oh yeah, yeah. What did I say?
Tristan.
Oh, Tristan. So many Thompsons.
Two Thompsons
Tom,
that are hurt. Yeah.
Thompsons. Yeah, Thompsons are hurt. Yeah. Golden State number two. Who's number three?
Oof. Again, I feel like these teams are just all in the same kind of mix. I think just based on roster, you know what? Maybe the Nuggets. Honestly, I think I'll go Nuggets there for three.
We agree. I was gonna say Denver. I like that team a lot. I think guys are going to continue to grow on that roster. So I like Denver. Yeah, Denver's number three. Number four.
Number four, I'll probably just. I think Clippers are going to be in that 4-5, so I'll go Clippers there. Um, Slot in there. Yeah, just based on talent.
So I again, you could kind of flip flop. I'm going to go Dallas here because I love Luca, and I think that team is going to continue to be on the rise. As some of these other teams like the Nuggets and the Mavericks are on the rise, I think that the Clippers are on the fall. I really,
It's entirely possible.
everything we've heard, we discussed a couple weeks ago that's coming out of that Clippers locker room and the problems last year, I don't think are going to get any better with Ty Lue as the head coach. So, I think the Clippers are going to fall. So you go Clippers at 4. I go Clippers at 5. Do you go Dallas 5? Are those two going to be kind of interchangeable for us?
I want to go Dallas, but I feel like they might be one down here because again, the James Harden factor is kind of tricky. Like I think Houston's in the mix between 5 and 8, but if he gets shipped, then they're probably not. So I'll say Dallas. Yeah, I'll just go with Dallas because I think that's a safe bet. Unfortunately, they have some problems with Kristaps getting injured, and even Luca. You know, can he stay? Can he hold up here in this
Yeah.
season?
So that's our top 5. Who's number 6? This is where it's gonna get tough.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Utah. Again, I think this like you go like number 3, 2, 3 to like 8. I think they're all gonna be in the same kind of mix of teams here. It's gonna be like a mess in there, but I'll go Utah.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Utah as well. They're one of those teams that's just they're always going to be in the mix. Quinn Snyder has them always playing hard, playing fundamentally sound. Um, Again, I like their roster. They're not going to win a championship. They're not.
No,
They're not built to win a championship. They're not built to get past the Lakers. Um, they're the Utah Jazz, and maybe to a degree, I think the Nuggets they do have a roster that could beat the Lakers, right? Potentially.
theoretically.
Uh, Utah is the team. They're almost in that mold of a um, 2004 Detroit Pistons. Like they are gonna need the Lakers like in like 2 years if LeBron leaves. I know they signed contracts and all this stuff, but like, if LeBron retire, if the Lakers aren't a superpower anymore, there's gonna be like that 1 year window where it's like the
Yes.
Raptors winning it 2 years ago because of LeBron leaving the East and the Warriors getting all banged up and Kawhi. You have Kawhi and you win the championship. There's going to be a 1 year window for Utah some here in the next 3 years, and
Right.
that's going to be their shot. That's going to be their one shot. They'll make that finals, and they better win it because they won't get back to another one. Utah really like them, but again, yeah, I mean, in this conference right now, they're a 6 seed. So
And
who's
then
number
we have
7?
6, 7, right? Yeah. For now, I'm just gonna throw Houston in there. I think, Harden and I mean Wall, if he stays healthy, I think they'll win games. Just based on Harden alone, he'll score 55 and win a game. So they're probably in the mix there, anywhere from 6 to 8, 5 to 8.
I have a hard time doing picking Houston, but I mean, It's tough to gauge. I mean, if they went 3-1 in the preseason. Mm, yeah, I'm. This is 7, right?
7.
Ugh, gross. No, you go Houston. I'm not going Houston. I'm going Portland.
Big
I'm gonna go
Portland guy.
Portland there. Big Portland guy. I just can't. I just can't pick Houston. I can't because I think Harden's gone. He's gonna leave, and then even if they have a good record at that point, he's gonna leave, and they're gonna like not win a game. So
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not putting Houston in the playoffs. No shot. Sorry.
Well, you're going to be wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I think if Harden gets moved, forget about it. I think they're going to fall out of that conversation.
Yeah. All right. Who's your 8?
I'm going to go Suns. I think the Suns squeak in the bottom of the. But here, I'll say this after this pick because I think between the Suns, the Trailblazers, the Timberwolves, the Nuggets, the Mavericks, all these teams could get in. I think a number of you have 8 spots for 12 teams that could get into the playoffs here. But I'll go Phoenix. I'm expecting them to sneak in.
Totally agree. The Suns deserve redemption. They need to make the playoffs. The basketball gods will see to it.
I don't know about that, but I hope
Yeah,
so.
Suns at 8. So that's our Western Conference. That's how we see the Western Conference playing out. Lakers, Warriors, Nuggets. We kind of could go either or. Dallas, Clippers, then Utah. I go Portland. You go Houston. Then we go Suns. I don't think Houston's making the playoffs. Harden's going to get moved. Their record won't be good. They won't get there. You'll need to hope, Christian, that they have like a really great record. Like they'll have to be like the 2 or 3
Oh
seed,
yeah.
and then if Harden gets traded, they like sneak in still. Um, so that's the West. Now let's do the East. Who's the top team in the Eastern Conference right now?
The Brooklyn Nets. Kevin Durant is back. He is the guy.
I gotta agree. Unless something horrific happens injury wise, and unless they decide to screw up this roster, they're the best team. Talent wise, they've got they've got the top guys. They've got 2 guys. Again, we both agree. Kyrie, I can't make sense of the guy off the court, nor should I try to. It'll give you a headache, and just ruin your day. But on the court, looks like it's gonna work.
Yeah.
It looks like it's gonna work. And as long as that locker room can stay together, that team right now ready to go. So yeah, no argument here. They're number 1. Numero dos.
This is where it'll get a little bit tricky. I said the Bucks are going to take a step back. I still think they're going to be in the top with Giannis going full steam ahead. So I'll go Bucks too.
I'm gonna go Miami here. You're gonna go Bucks. I'm gonna go Miami here. I think the Bucks are gonna have troubles. I really do. I think the Heat are ready to build on what they did last year, and instead of being last year they were a 5 seed, and I think a lot of that had to do because in a normal NBA year, a young team like that having to go on the road and travel and all these things, I think the bubble helped that team flourish. And as long as there's no fans, doesn't matter if they're traveling, as long as there's still this bubble-esque nature to the season, I think the Heat are going to be phenomenal. So I'm picking them to be the second best team in the league because they were one of the best teams in the bubble. So if that's still what's going on, they've improved their roster too. I'm happy with it. So, yeah, I'm going Miami. You're going Milwaukee. Who's number 3?
I'm going to go Miami number 3. I think they're just good. I don't know. I think they're just solid all the way up and down. They got good depth, good bench play, and Jimmy Butler obviously. Um, and good old friend Max Strus is on that team now. Sharpshooter, who was cut by the Celtics for Javante Green. So I'm going to be watching that this year because that guy he was laser and threes the other day for the Heat, and another guy that they have that can shoot. That's interesting to me. Guy that you could have had here making shots, but we don't like that.
Yeah, I'm going to go Milwaukee here. Um, they're going to be a good team. They're not going to be great. They're not going to be running over people like they were last year. But they're going to be in the top 3 of the Eastern Conference. So we flip flop here, 2-3. You go Milwaukee, Miami. I go Miami, Milwaukee. So, who's number 4?
So I'm going to take a little bit of a risky pick here because I think this team has improved, not only from a coaching standpoint, but also their roster. Some of the picks that I forgot they had, Seth Curry and these guys. So I'm going to go 76ers here.
Wow.
I like what they did in the offseason. They obviously brought in Doc Rivers, Dwight Howard, who was pretty good in the bubble for the Lakers, Danny Green, Seth Curry. You look at their roster and even Shake Milton. Shake Milton's been pretty good too. So I like the improvements they made, and a lot of my gripes with the 76ers was dumb Brett Brown. So I think they've improved, and I think they're going to be in the conversation for 4 or 5.
Oh, I agree. I agree with you. 76ers are better. How long that holds? Do they make it? Again, I think any team that trades for James Harden is going to completely ruin themselves because I just don't like James Harden. And the Sixers are one of those teams that's in the mix. So I'm going Celtics at 4 only because this isn't right now. If you're seeing them right now, like if we're saying like playoffs start today, where is every team? Celtics are going to be bottom of the East. But projecting forward a whole season, Kemba, Tristan healthy, the rookies are now. I mean, look at what Grant Williams went from being day 1 to in the bubble. I mean, a solid contributing player as a rookie.
Yeah.
Because again, the Celtics have been trying to draft these guys who are juniors, seniors, ready to come in and contribute as role players. Because of where they've been picking. When they've had a lottery pick in the top 3, they've hit home runs. Picking in the middle of the draft, they haven't been picking project guys anymore. They've been trying to pick guys that can come in and serve you right away. I think by the end of the season, they've put it together. And they're going to be a 4-5 and in the mix, hitting their stride as they say. So I go Boston 4 and then the 76ers 5 because I don't know, it's Philly and the Celtics just have their number, and so until it counts and the Sixers are doing it, I have a tough time picking them, Doc or not.
I think you've been spending too much time sniffing that Christmas tree. I don't know about that. For me, the number 5 spot is going to be Toronto.
So this is where me and you now have diverged our time. We're really diverging our timelines. Why Toronto?
I just think, again, you just look at the roster. They haven't gotten any worse. Obviously, I mean, I don't think they've jumped, but that's why I have other teams jumping them in the standings. So Miami, I think, is going to be better than them. 76ers will be better than them, but ultimately, Kyle Lowry, you have Siakam, they got Baines in there now. So I don't think they've gotten incredibly worse, and I think they'll still be a good regular season team and sneak into the playoffs there in that 5 spot.
Yeah, Toronto's going to be good. I just think that a lot of other teams have improved, and again, this is me. We're projecting here. We're predicting. I expect the Celtics to be better. The Celtics were able to be better than the Toronto Raptors last year, so they'll be better than them this year. I do think the 76ers, if meeting their potential, are better than Toronto. So logically, I'm putting Toronto next. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Toronto 6 for me. I think the East is loaded. Like, being the 6th team in the East does not mean that you're a joke, like it might have in years past. If I can speak. So Toronto, we're kind of. I'm guessing, where are you going to go here? So this is what I say, 6. Who's your 6?
Yeah,
okay, so this is where we've completely diverged. So we basically we flipped. You've got Celtics 6, I've got Celtics 4. And then the rest we kind of agree on who they're going to be. So that's our main difference here, Christian. You think the Celtics are going to be the 6th seed, which could be fair. I just think they're going to put it together more and maybe be much better down the stretch. All of these teams are going to be separated by a game or two, right?
Yeah, I mean they'll all be in that same conversation. I think you look 4 to 7, 4 to 6 probably in that range. I think you're going to be looking at like a few games.
So, who's 7?
I'm just going. I'm just going to go on previous years and just go Indiana. I mean they haven't played great, and I don't think they're anything that is going to make some noise here. But just based on previous years, and they have some good pieces there. So for a regular season team, I'm going to throw them in the 7 spot.
Mm-hmm. This is tough. Yeah, I'll go Indiana as well. Um, they're going to be one of these sparky little teams that plays hard, and who knows what moves they still maybe make with a guy like if they were ready to just they really wanted to get rid of Miles Turner because
Yeah.
they don't like going the double big thing with Sabonis and him. So what can they get at the trade deadline? We'll find out. Um, there's a significant drop off though between this top 6 and then these bottom
Yeah.
2.
Exactly.
So I agree with Indiana. And then who's your 8 seed?
This is a tough one. I think a couple teams could sneak in. Potentially the Hawks if they're right. Potentially the Wizards if Westbrook comes in, but I don't necessarily see that. And then I think the Magic. So I'm gonna slot the Magic there just based on roster. They have Vucevic and Aaron Gordon. They're staying healthy. I think for a regular season again, the drop off from 6 to 7 and 8 is huge in my opinion. So I think they're gonna sneak in the 8th seed. But I think again, I mean, I think these last 2 slots here, same within the West. I think they could shift to another 2 or 3 teams depending on who makes that jump.
Yeah, I agree. As bunched up, like I think Brooklyn's going to be far and away the number 1 seed, and I think Miami could be close to them. But then 3 through 6 could all be separated by a game or two. It
Yeah.
is literally going to be coming down to the wire. Who ends up where? Same with like 7 through 10 in the East. I agree with you. Those teams. I mean, Indiana, Atlanta, the Magic are going to be good. What are the Wizards going to be this year? Even Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte could find a way to sneaky, stay relevant.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to see how that develops. I'm going to go Atlanta because I just like how they're progressing, right? With
Mhm.
how that roster is constructed, who they've added to it, and next step, hey, make the playoffs, and maybe Rondo and Trae Young find a way to give the Nets a scare in the first round. Who knows?
Yeah. I
So
think the Hawks.
I'm going Atlanta.
I kind of agree with you. I'm going to say Magic just based on track record and everything, but the moves that Atlanta made in the offseason are sneaky good. They got Gallinari, Chris Dunn, and Bogdanovich.
Yeah,
Those are not like bottom of the roster players. Those are off the bench guys, and maybe even in the starting rotation. With Young, they have Collins still, Clint Capella. So they have some pieces there that I think could get them in that 7, 8, 9, 10 spot.
yeah. All right. So that's our East and West, and now let's project who wins the West.
Uh, the Phoenix Suns. No, I'm going to say Lakers. Yeah,
All right, agree. Who wins the East?
Brooklyn.
I agree as well. So we've got a Brooklyn Lakers final, which I think is amazingly compelling.
Oh
I
yeah,
think there's so many storylines as long as Kyrie is still on the Nets at that point. Even though I think it would be hysterical for him to be traded for James Harden and the Nets would completely blow themselves up if that happened. Um, if he's still on the Nets, and they make the finals and play the Lakers, the story him versus LeBron, KD versus LeBron for the third time, They're it'd be great. It'd be a good story.
Now
It'd be
you
a
throw
very
Anthony
compelling
Davis in
story.
the mix too. I don't know that to me. I think I would watch all 4, 5, 6, 7 games of that just because of the storylines. I mean, you look at just off the top. Most notably is Kyrie LeBron,
Would you watch
right?
more than 7 games?
Yes, 10. I just think Kyrie LeBron is such a good Kyrie is number one, right? And LeBron, like he was never Kyrie. He never won Kyrie a title or anything. Kyrie has never had a guy like Durant on his team. So I think just like you go right there, that's the best storyline in the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah. Kyrie, I'm not going to talk to the media because I don't want my message to be obscured. Well, don't say wackadoodle things.
And now he's back talking to the media, so that lasted long.
Yeah, because he needed to come out and explain why he was saging the Boston Garden, and he says, "Hey, I'll believe him." He says it's part of it's part of a belief thing for him. We know he's gotten really more in touch with the Native American stuff, and he says it's part of his ritual. Evidently, he did it the game before, and he's going to continue to do it. So then I'm not going to call the guy an a-hole for doing it if it's something that's just going to be part of his routine. He almost now had to have made it part of his routine, though, because you say you're not going to talk to the media, and then you're going to go do that. You look like you're just trolling, dude. So, yeah, we've said it before. Off the court, I just can't make sense of the guy. I don't know what's going on there between the ears. On the court, he's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll say it again. Like off the court, I'm not going to try to understand the guy because he is the smartest person on earth. But on the court, I will watch him, up and down the floor. The guy is, extremely talented, and unfortunately, he knows that, so he talks about himself a lot.
Yeah. So
I think after putting the Celtics in the 4 seed, this is the last thing I'll say. I think you need to be saged. Okay. I think we get Kyrie on the show and have him sage you.
Kyrie, if you're listening, we'd be more
Come
than
on the
happy to
show.
have you come on the 360 Sports Show. We'll see if Christian will actually say the things he said about you to your face.
No. From behind my computer, yes.
Yeah. Well, we're doing the show live again. Kyrie, next time you're in Boston, we'll come up. We'll get credentialed. We'll go. Hey, how about this, Christian? When the world's normal again, and we can start going out to live sporting events like we were back in the spring, we'll go up to the Garden and we'll get into the press pool, and from a socially distanced location, you can ask Kyrie some hard questions. How about that?
Hey, look, I have no problem with Kyrie, right? I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think he's kind of a weird dude. And he says some really stupid stuff. I don't know. I don't have an explanation for it. I don't think he's a terrible person or anything like that, but he is a weird human being.
He talks about spiritualism and community and being one and all of us kind of, and then he says things like, or he talks about respect so often, and then he says, a king does not concern himself with pawns.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
When talking about his contractually obligated responsibility to come and talk to the media.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Like, I don't think he's a bad guy or anything like that. Like, he's not going out and murdering everybody, right? So he's not like a terrible human. He just loves himself some Kyrie.
Weird.
If you have time, I would recommend watching his Instagram live called "Sitting with Kai" because I think it's very extremely interesting. Would recommend.
Is that what you've been doing in your spare time?
I have been watching it a little bit. He had Durant on there and LeVert on there. It's a very odd thing.
Every time I see the little notification pop up, Kyrie Irving has gone live on Instagram. I'm like, oh God, he did it the day after that whole thing dropped about him saying, "Oh, I'm not going to talk to the media and kings and pawns." It was like I saw the tweet about that, and then Kyrie has gone live on Instagram. I was like, oh, this is going to be good. Let's see what this is all about. Fantastic. So. Yep, you're watching the 360 Sports Show live. We're live every Sunday starting at 11 a.m. We broadcast through Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch, powered by Restream. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comment section of the show. If you're listening to this as a podcast, you can email the360sportshow@gmail.com. And we do have a question right now. This comes through Facebook from Pete in Gansett. What's the deal? So I'm reading this in Seinfeld voice. What's the deal on NBA players getting the vaccine, and when? And are all pro athletes considered essential workers? That is a great question. I'm sure the leagues will consider themselves essential. I'm sure there's a segment that considers them essential because of the money that is tied up in all this. It's why they fought so hard to make the seasons happen. The money. Right now, the NBA is moving forward. They're not tied to a vaccine the way the NHL is trying to tie themselves to a vaccine. Um,
Right.
when will NBA players get it? I think the NBA, I imagine probably sometime March.
Hmm.
Because right now the vaccines are going to essential workers, to the aged, to people who are,
Politicians.
um, yeah, um, it's going to the people who are in most desperate need of it in general, right? And the NBA has been so socially conscious. I think if they wouldn't want it to come out that, oh, guess what? Along with all the doctors, nurses, and people over 60 and everybody who got vaccinated in nursing homes this week, oh, the NBA made sure that they got Moderna's vaccine as well today. Wouldn't be a good look.
Yeah. No,
And it seems nobody, the players themselves aren't griping about it because guess what? I think they have faith in the NBA's protocols.
yeah. I
They,
would
they're,
say they
they're
have pretty good protocols too. Like you just look at, and also I think it's funny. I wonder if these leagues now that we thought were the NFL was going to mold, I wonder if now these leagues are going to be like, oh, we saw what the NFL did. Let's go with that method and just like plow ahead through these games. I doubt it. I think the
maybe.
NBA has been so good, but just in terms of the protocols, NBA, I think they have everything in place that they need. And I would be shocked if they're trying to like buy the vaccine earlier, unless the athletes have underlying conditions or something like that. Maybe I could see it. Yeah, obviously I understand that, but other than that, I think they're kind of in the realm like normal people. So it's kind of like March, April.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like they're pushing for it like crazy. I think the NBA cares more about fans getting vaccinated to get people back
Probably.
to hopefully maybe have the NBA Finals in LA with a raucous crowd and not have to do a bubble again. I think that's where the concern is more for the NBA. I think the players will kind of just get it when they get it,
Yeah.
when it's available to them. I don't think I don't since the league isn't pushing the issue. I don't think you're going to see like, well, all NBA players are vaccinated today. I don't think it's going to happen. Um, are pro athletes considered essential workers, Christian?
I would say yes because I think the leagues need like in order to keep the leagues going, you need the players there. So in a way, yeah. I mean, look, the essential worker thing is kind of like one of those things where anybody could be an essential worker, in my opinion, because I feel like during these COVID shutdowns everywhere, everything's considered essential, right? So a lot of people are still opening their business saying they're essential. So I don't know. I think yes, because I think the leagues, in order to make money, in order to stay alive and stay in the conversation that they're in, which is the best sports league in the world, I think they need the athletes on the court. So ultimately, yeah,
It depends on where you draw the lines on essential worker, right? You
yeah,
know, in my mind, I hear essential worker. I think nurses,
hundred
doctors.
percent,
I think those people.
yeah,
But like you said, essential worker has also meant grocery stocker. It's also meant liquor store clerk. There's a lot of
yeah,
if those are the lines that we're drawing for essential worker, then yeah, a multi-billion-dollar industry, entertainment industry that has money tied up in advertising and insurance contracts for you know all these things, all these Fox or ESPN pays through the nose to get games. Their advertisers pay them millions and billions of dollars to have ads on those games. There's a lot of collateral there if those things don't happen. So that's why they're going to play the games. And
yeah.
if you have to play the games, they're going to deem them
I
essential.
mean, obviously, I think the essential worker is obviously your doctors, your nurses, nursing home workers, people like that, and then the underlying conditions, all that stuff. Um, but essential to me is obviously what you just said, the front line really. And in the context of the pandemic, it's doctors, nurses, and those frontline workers.
Yeah, in the context of economics,
They are 100% essential.
they are essential. Uh, So yeah, thanks for the question, Pete. So yeah, we've picked the NBA season. So if you want to tune out and tune back in June, it will be Brooklyn and the Lakers in the finals. So that'll do it for our NBA stuff for now. Before we get into our NFL picks, and we will be doing our top 5 favorite Christmas movies, because Christmas will come and go before our next show. Hard to believe. No Christmas Day special. It'll be the 27th for us next week. But before we get to both of those things, I did want to have a small little professional lacrosse note. There are 2 leagues, or there were 2 leagues. It was the MLL, Major League Lacrosse, and the PLL, Premier Lacrosse League. And kind of the thing I've said about lacrosse is it is getting closer to where soccer and hockey are, where they're never going to be the preeminent main sport. But you're going to see them more on major networks, and you're going to see bigger fan bases for them here in this country as more and more people play the game, more and more people are interested in the game, and more people have played the game and have kids who play the game. That's what's happening with soccer. Soccer's here to stay. Could it someday supplant baseball? Maybe in the top 4. Any of those could, if baseball continues to tank professionally in terms of viewership. So lacrosse is here to stay. A big part of them growing that is to not have like 5 leagues. So MLL, PLL have merged. They are one thing now. They are both going to be. The PLL has absorbed MLL. And so your Boston Cannons, if you follow them, are now part of the Premier Lacrosse League. So all professional lacrosse in the United States is under one banner, and I think that that's a good thing. I think they're going to continue to grow. The game's exciting. You know, if you once you actually really watch lacrosse, which I'll admit, I knew very little about lacrosse other than throw ball in net. That's it. I didn't know about strategy. I didn't know the rules outside of that. Outside of that, it's a goal-scoring game until I started working in college and covering college lacrosse and learning the game. The game's fun. I mean, it's a physical game too. So I would like to see it continue to grow and for it to get more recognition. And them being under one banner will go a long way. Jeez.
Long way. 'Twas the night before tway.
Long way. A long way towards and way. Tway. Long tway doing that, making it happen. Do you agree?
I agree with pretty much everything you just say. Tway, we go. I think I agree with just about everything you said. I think it's a good thing. You get them all under kind of like one roof, so to speak, and then you continue the growth project here. Obviously, if you're not actually familiar with lacrosse, you're probably not going to engage in it. But if you see highest level lacrosse, it's very similar to your hockey, football style of it's contact, it's scoring. It's like these guys are high level athletes. I mean, it's just what you can do with a ball and a stick is pretty compelling.
Yeah. So that was just a small little note on that. We're going to do top 5 favorite Christmas movies at the end. So let's kind of rip through quick our NFL stuff. I'd say first our reactions to Thursday's games and Saturday football. This is that point of the year with the NFL. We've already played on every day of the week. Let's just play on Saturdays too. Why not? So your reaction, Christian, to Thursday's game and then to yesterday's games.
Yeah, I mean, I picked Buffalo and Green Bay, and they won. That's all the analysis needed. I think, honestly, though, I think Buffalo. I mean, they played Denver, so what can you take away? But they're kind of rolling right now, and they won that division now. They're locked in there, so I think they have potential to make some noise in the playoffs just based on their defense and Josh Allen's development.
Josh Allen. It's been a tough day speaking here on the 360 Sports Show.
I had some rum and eggnog this morning. I'm all.
This is just straight black coffee. People are going to be thinking maybe I mixed a little Irish coffee here. This is just straight black coffee.
It happens.
Is Josh Allen an elite quarterback?
At this point, probably not, but I think he's moving towards that conversation, just based on what he can do, not only with his arm, but with his legs. Because if he puts it all together and gets kind of the dumbness out of him, that's kind of a weird thing to say, but he gets like those brain farts out of the way where he just throws it to the other team for no reason. He's definitely going to be in that conversation.
I'm so impressed with him, and I can't think of another guy that I've seen in the span of a year
Mm.
go from, and we saw Ryan Tannehill go from like, well, I think he's an okay quarterback to, wow, he's really good, and Ryan Tannehill is becoming not an elite quarterback, but just wow, you're not going to lose games, and this guy can win you games.
Yeah.
But we never thought that Ryan Tannehill was like god awful. I thought last year, for the first half of the year, I was like, Josh Allen's a bust. I mean, this guy's dreadful. He can't read coverages. You know, he's got a big arm, but he throws so many interceptions. I think Josh Allen is an elite quarterback. Right now, this year, in this league, he's an elite quarterback. I'm legitimately, I don't watch him drop back to pass, and I'm just like waiting for him to throw it to the other team. Like, oh, this is going to be rich. You legitimately feel he drops back to pass that he's a threat to run, to throw. He's making all the throws. He's reading the play. He's doing things at the line of scrimmage. I can't think of another guy I've seen flip-flop like that in terms of my opinion of him, going from inept to, wow, weapon, borderline elite. Can you? I can't think of another guy I've gone like that from.
No, because I think like this year especially, he's taken that thing where he would just kind of throw it away and throw it to the other team for no reason, and he's kind of molded into he's going to make a play whether it's with his arm or his legs. And I think he can make every throw. He obviously can run, and I think he's very good. I just want to see it more. And I want to see it in the playoffs. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that'll be that next step. And like you said, the biggest thing for him too, last year, play gets extended, and he's like, well, let me just huck it up and pick. Now he's just like, throw it away. That's the smartest thing. Making simple plays and making the smart play is the biggest difference between guys who get to that ceiling and then can't become elite quarterbacks and guys who just throw the ball away, turn it over all the time, and you're a 500 quarterback.
Because I think, look, the talent level has been there. It's just getting those dumb plays and kind of just throwing them out. If you get rid of those, he's got elite level talent, and it's just a matter of putting it together.
Yeah, I agree. No surprises yesterday in those games, aside from feeling like Josh Allen is really becoming an elite quarterback. To go back to Thursday real quick, the Chargers played the Raiders, and the last 5 minutes of that game, I don't even know if it was football. I truly believe I think somebody handed John Gruden and Anthony Lynn a separate set of rules for a different game that I just don't even understand. Because it was comically bad decision making, play calling, execution. It was almost laughable. Now, my big takeaway is Marcus Mariota. That dude can still play. I wonder, because everybody thought at the time, is that the guy Gruden really wants to be in there anyways? Because he's not like washed up. He unfortunately got benched in Tennessee, and it was just one of those things where it was just time, change of scenery. He looked really good. Mariota looked really good. I think the play, Gruden kind of screwed him out of getting a win because of their play calling with him down the goal line in overtime. They could have won that game if you just let him put the ball in Mariota's hands and let him make the play instead of, we're going to run, throw to the flat on the goal line. But he looked really good. But the turnovers and the Mariota's one bad play. He throws behind Zay Jones, and it's picked off by Chris Harris. And this is the end of the fourth quarter, and oh my God, the Chargers are going to win. This guy's going to run it back. Mariota tags him. But even still, the Chargers are in field goal range. And their kicker and their special teams has been historically awful. But even still, hey, they're on like the 20-yard line. What do the Chargers do? Run. It's 3rd and 2. You're in very manageable field goal range. What should we do? Let's go play action, deep set, and Justin Herbert, we're not even going to like have him roll out. We're going to have him fake the rollout one way and then roll back the other way. And what happens? Sack for like an 18-yard loss.
Coaches.
Just run the ball. And then of course what happens? Predictable. Miss the field goal. Now the Raiders are set up. A minute to go. They've got time. They had no timeouts, but they had time. They end up getting to like just past midfield. Let's line up for a 65-yarder. This is exciting. Maybe this guy hits this. Oh no, the snapper's going to snap it past the punter's ear.
Yep. It was Chargers-esque.
It must rub off. It's got to be contagious. So the sequencing of plays and everything, the last 2 minutes and overtime in that game was like two teams trying to not win. And then the Chargers get the ball back, and Justin Herbert's like, screw this, and hucks it 80 yards down the field, and the guy catches it on the 1-yard line. But even still, you were like, the Chargers aren't going to get in, and they're going to have to settle for a field goal, because Herbert like tries to reach across, fumbles the ball into the end zone.
Yeah.
All over the place mess. But my question out of all that, is Derek Carr in trouble in Las Vegas? Because they only owe him $2.5 million next year. They could trade him, cut him, and save like $20 million. They only owe him 2.5 on the dead cap.
Yeah.
Is he done?
I think they'll take a look over the next few weeks for sure. But I think Carr's on the move here in the offseason. I think he'll be gone. Who knows? I would take him on the Patriots. I'll tell you that. But I would say, if Mariota comes in and plays well, I don't know if Gruden ever wanted Carr or if that was really the long-term answer for him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone.
Yeah, I agree. I think he could be on the move, because you don't go out and get Mariota to be like just the clipboard guy and Carr's your franchise. You got him because you were taking a flyer on a guy that you like, and clearly their offense looked way better with him. He can do so much more than Carr is able to do. So we shall see. All right, let's get into picks so we can get to our top 5 Christmas movies. So 3 games already in the books.
How did we do last week?
12-7. You took me. It's been tough. It's been tough. It is not. Christian, here's the thing. I'm not having a bad year. If you just want to look at numbers, like, if you're picking games, you're having a phenomenal year. You are having you're killing me.
Anything less? I mean,
there was those 2 weeks. I've just not been. You've been slowly making up, adding to your lead. That lead started with weeks 6 and 7, where I only got a combined 8 games right.
Yeah, that's rough. Rough
not
down
good.
There. Yeah,
not good. So
you're like the Patriots of the AFC East,
basically. So all right,
let's
get to
roll, huh? Tampa Bay at Atlanta.
Why is this not typing? Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Tampa, easy. Yep. If Minnesota didn't again have dreadful special teams last week, they probably could have had a chance to beat Tampa. I thought that was a trap game. I'm still not impressed with Tampa, but there's no way they lose to Atlanta. So
Tampa did not look good last week either.
I look at Tampa and Green Bay. The Bay teams are the same. They're going to go 12-4, 11-5, and lose in the first round.
That's a safe bet. Yeah. Let's see. Moving on. San Francisco at Dallas. Ugh.
Yuck, San Fran.
Yeah. San Francisco. Detroit at Tennessee.
Detroit has played harder here down the stretch, but Tennessee's. Again, I don't know. Tennessee's kind of been Jekyll and Hyde, but I can't see them losing to Detroit.
Tennessee's got to be full steam ahead now in the latter half here.
Yeah. Next.
Then we're moving to Houston at Indy.
Oh, this is a gross game.
Houston had a nice showing last week.
Yeah.
Not ideal, losing to the Bears by
like 30
29 points. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't pick them against Indy. No way.
Yeah. As long as Phillip Rivers doesn't start chucking the ball everywhere, yeah, Indy.
New England, Miami. We'll come back to that one. Chicago. Actually, you know what? We can just pick it now. Why not? New England at Miami. Not much analysis needed. Miami.
You go first. Oh, see, I'm gonna pick the Pats for one reason. For one reason. This path thing isn't gonna die. And we all want them to lose and or to be eliminated so that we can put Cam Newton on the bench and say, thank you, Cam. It's been great. I want to see Stidham. But like it's just they're not. It's like a bad penny. They're gonna win today, and the path's gonna stay alive, and we're gonna get Cam Newton for 2 more weeks and not ever know what Jared Stidham can do as a starting quarterback. So, for frustration's sake, and for somehow them keeping us emotionally invested in the team, I'm gonna pick New England to beat Miami.
I'll tell you, I have just for the record, I have no emotion towards the Patriots right now.
All right.
Chicago at Minnesota.
Chicago.
This is a tough one. I was rolling with Minnesota. They had a crap game last week, and the Bears went off. I'll still take Minnesota in their building. Why not? I got a cushion here. I can take a few jabs at it.
I'm gonna pick Chicago. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. But I'm in the opposite situation. I need to make up games, and this is kind of a toss-up in my opinion. So if you're picking Minnesota, I'm picking Chicago, baby. I don't like rolling with Mitch Trubisky, but hey, a man's gonna do what a man's gonna do.
Take some chances.
Yeah.
Then we go Seattle at Washington.
Sneaky good game. Sneaky good game. Tell you what, I'm picking the upset. I'm picking Washington. That defense is legit. I think that Russ's cooking has been a little burnt here lately. I know they looked great against the Jets. A little bit of a get-right game. But the week before, they looked pretty inept against the Giants. I think Washington's defense better than Giants' defense. So I'm picking Washington in this game in an upset.
I don't feel confident, but I'm going to take Seattle. Washington's won 4 in a row, and their defense, I mean, Chase Young is an absolute stud.
A monster. I love that clip of Mike Tomlin talking to him during the Steelers Washington game a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, man, I ain't never going to lose enough games to get a player like you.
Yeah.
You have to lose a lot to get guys like you. It ain't never going to happen.
Yeah.
So
the guy is a freaking stud. Then we're going Jacksonville at the Ravens.
If you are a Patriots path proponent, you need Jacksonville to win this game. So that at least the Patriots have odds to get in. Not happening. The Ravens, even though I think they're kind of a mess, and they're not as good as they were last year, and how much of that was kind of just like Lamar Jackson taking the league by storm, they're better than Jacksonville. Jacksonville's at this point is in tank mode. Baltimore. I ain't stupid.
Yep, Baltimore. Jets.
I'm desperate, but I'm not stupid.
Here's where things get stupid. Jets at Rams.
No. Rams.
Should debate you there. I'll go Rams.
The Jets' chance was that Raiders game because the Raiders are just in a total spiral, and we don't have to live that. Just it comes back to when we talk about college coaches losing games.
Yeah.
Rams.
Philly at Arizona, the Battle of the Birds.
Also the battle of the young quarterbacks.
True, yeah.
Hurts getting his second start. Kyler Murray. What are the Cardinals now? What's their record? I feel like they went from being the top team in the NFC West to now, are they out of the playoffs?
They're 7-6.
Where are they seated right now? Are they out or are they in?
That's a great question. They might be just on the out. Yeah, I don't know if they're in. They're behind the Rams and Seahawks. And
Tampa Bay, so they're out. They're out right now. So they need this one big. But what are the Eagles with Hurts? Oh God, which coach do you like? I think quarterback right now, and this is kind of a wash. Coaching is a wash. I'm gonna go Arizona just because those weapons and
Yeah,
at home. So
I'm
Arizona.
gonna go same. Yeah, Arizona.
Is that the
Moving on.
Sunday night game?
No, 4 o'clock.
Oh wow, that's a good 4 o'clock game.
Another 4:30. This is a good one. Well, potentially, if Breeze was playing, it would be better. But Kansas City at New Orleans.
Is Breeze officially out? I know there's some talk of him playing in this
I
game.
believe so. Yeah, Winston is out. So my guess is, let's see, yeah, Taysom Hill looks to be the starter, and no Michael Thomas either. So not a great start for the Saints.
Uh,
Play
little
for the
bit of
Chiefs.
little bit of breaking news here. Um, college football playoff is announced. Number 1, Alabama. No surprise.
Shocker.
Number 2, Clemson. No surprise. Number 3, Ohio State. Disappointing. No surprise. Number 4,
Boise
Notre
State.
Dame.
Wow.
Notre Dame, and they will play Alabama. Tell you now, Alabama's going to win in a blowout.
Probably.
That's
Yeah.
that's going to be a complete dud of a game. So, I'd like to be proven wrong, but it is what it is. I
Good
think
luck.
Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M deserve to be in there over Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care what the record is. You the point. They're judging. They're supposed to be judging here. Judge quality of win. Judge opponent. Judge strength of loss and all that stuff. And also sneaky. You want people to watch. You want it to be a good product. People are going to tune out after a quarter of that Alabama Notre Dame game. So anyway, that's the college breaking news right there. So wanted to get that in while we had it. Back to Kansas City at New Orleans. I assume you're taking KC.
Yes.
All right. Next.
Cleveland at New York Giants.
Ah, man. Cleveland coming off what should have been a win
Yeah.
in a game that they fight back in. Giants in New York. Giants are playing hard. Cleveland I've said I've wanted Cleveland to prove it to me. I believe Cleveland's earned my respect to say that they go in and win this game.
Yeah.
Because they need it. So I'm picking Cleveland.
Agreed.
But Giants do have. It's not going to be a blowout. Giants will have a shot, but I got to pick Cleveland.
And the Monday night game, Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. That is not a great one. Pittsburgh.
Gross. Wish you could flex that game out. Yeah, Pittsburgh. No shot. So that's our picks. Which brings us to the hour you've all been waiting for. We're going to talk. We did the top fives back in the spring and in the summer because what else was there to talk about? Got to make lists. Top 5 quarterbacks of all time, NBA players, fast food, burgers. We needed something to talk about. Luckily, we've had games, but we figured holiday season doing the top 5 Christmas movie thing would be good. So I just want to check now. I want to check the mailbox and see who we've gotten any submissions for. So if you still haven't yet, you could email the 360sportshow@gmail.com with your top 5 Christmas movies, or you could drop them in the comment sections of any of the live streams right now on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, or Twitch. If you're listening to this as a podcast and you didn't get yours in, you could still send them to us throughout the week, and we'll read them next week too, because I'm sure we'll still be in the holiday spirit come next Sunday. We got a top 10 here from Corrine. We'll start at the bottom. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, both of them, animated and the animated original, and Jim Carrey. Christmas Story, Elf, While You Were Sleeping, Joyeux Noel, A Christmas Carol, George C. Scott, Nothing Like the Holidays, Love Actually, Christmas in Connecticut, The Santa Claus, and number 1, The Nativity Story. And then add-ons, Die Hard, Home Alone.
Get
Bonus.
Die Hard out of here with that. Poshy pick here.
So those are from Green. These are from Mary. Jingle All the Way, The Grinch, Christmas with the Cranks, The Santa Claus, and The Year Without Santa. So those are to the mailbox. I'm gonna check here. We'll check the old social media. Let's see here. Any submissions? Let's take a gander. We have a submission from Gabby. She goes, Elf, Die Hard, It's a Wonderful Life, White Christmas, and The Grinch cartoon. So I imagine that's the original, not the newer one.
Yeah.
Hashtag not my Grinch
Animated.
from a couple years ago. Corrine follows up that White Christmas is her all-time favorite.
Okay.
So I guess her initial list was in no particular order. I believe that is all of them that we've gotten so far. So you could still drop those in the comment sections as we're going here. But yeah, let me see if I can clear out this caption here. We don't need this here. Just peasantcy law. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna bring this in to the stream now. Here's ours. Here's our top 5, and I can probably zoom in on this a little bit. So Christian, you're on. Actually, no, I X'd you out. Zoom out. So you're on the bottom here. So I'll let you take me through your picks.
Yeah, I mean, Elf, obviously, Will Ferrell, one of the funniest ones of the Christmas season, and then a bunch of classics for me. Obviously, in no particular order, but Rudolph, obviously, when we were kids, we always watched that. That's the claymation version. That was always a classic movie. Home Alone, another one, obviously. You got to go OG Home Alone, though. The second and third were fine, but not as good as the first. Nowhere near it. And the Santa Claus with Tim Allen, also another classic movie. And then the Grinch with Jim Carrey, super underrated.
Yeah, I think both Grinches are fantastic. If I had to pick, I go the cartoon for the nostalgia's sake. So it's funny, we're basically the same here in the middle. Santa Claus, love it, classic, could watch it over and over again. Home Alone, again, is just fantastic. The first one is awesome.
Yeah.
It's got everything. It's honestly kind of like a perfect movie because you've got comedy, you got a little bit of action, you got holiday spirit stuff. It's fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. If you just want to watch a good movie and sit down and be entertained and have fun and have the heartstrings tugged a little bit, it's great. It's got everything. I've got the animated Grinch. Ernest Saves Christmas is one of my all-timers. Did you ever watch any of the Ernest movies, Christian, when you were a kid?
Never seen it, no.
Oh, I'll send you a link. The Ernest stuff, Ernest Saves and the Ernest Show, it's just out of control fun. There were kids. It was a kids program, and then the character of Ernest, and then they made Disney made movies of him doing things. It's like Ernest Saves Christmas, Ernest Goes to School. It's fantastic. It's great. And then I go Die Hard. Come on. Like I said, I use a broad definition of Christmas movies. Takes place on Christmas. It's got a happy ending. It's about family. Come on,
No.
Christmas.
No.
Christmas all the way. In fact, I even have. We've got here. Let's see. I'll pull myself back up here. We've got the Die Hard Christmas book. So maybe on Christmas Eve I'll read the Die Hard Christmas here on the show. I love it. I love I consider it a Christmas movie, and it's one of my favorite movies. So it goes in the top 5. What's your problem with Die Hard being a Christmas movie?
It's not like a true. Yes, it happens around Christmas. Good for you. Good for it. But it's not a true Christmas movie. You're talking top 5 Christmas movies. Get that out of here. You're talking like Rudolph, Frosty the Snowman, Elf, the ones up here, Home Alones, all of those. Get Die Hard out of here. Christmas Carol, all those are way better. It takes place during Christmas, but you know what? Yeah, no. It's not in there.
It's in a lot of people's favorites. So I mean, at some point, I mean, I understand your point, but it's like the dictionary having to finally admit something that's not a word is a word. Like irregardless is now a word because so many people use it mistakenly. Enough people call Die Hard a Christmas movie. It's considered a Christmas movie. Um, Pete from Gansett actually writes in with his top 5. It's a Wonderful Life, Miracle on 34th Street, A Christmas Carol, the Albert Finney musical version, Die Hard,
Yeah,
and
freaking Die Hard.
and White Christmas. I will say, you mentioned Christmas Carol. I put Ernest in here because it's in my top 5. My honorable mention is the Muppet Christmas Carol. I loved that movie when I was a kid. The Muppet Christmas Carol is just so great.
Yeah, I think the OG Christmas Carol is good too. Well, actually, every rendition that I've seen is actually pretty good. I think it's just a good story, honestly.
Yeah. So
But Die Hard, again with the Die
yeah.
Hard. I'm
Yippee
gonna
ki-
die
yip-
hard if I see another one of these in top 5 Christmas movies.
you don't sign all your Christmas cards. Yippee ki yay.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's our top 5 favorite Christmas movies. So this will go up on social media as well. If you're listening to this as a podcast, obviously you can't see what we're looking at, but these will all go up on all of our social media platforms. I'm going to check those right now. Make sure we don't have any other submissions to announce. I want to make sure anybody who gets them out there has a chance. Perusing here, nothing. Um, and we'll check the email one last time. All right, we do have one. Christmas Vacation hadn't been brought up yet. That was brought up here by Mark. Mark brings that one up here. Yeah, Mark and Betty both vote for Christmas Vacation as a top 5. That's another big one.
Yeah.
That I've heard before.
That's a funny movie. That is a good one.
So that's an all timer for some people. Yeah. So that'll do it. Sir, what are your plans for the holidays?
We haven't decided yet. We might get a COVID test and do some socially distanced stuff. We might just kind of hang out, but we'll do some Zoom stuff or something with the family, and then drop gifts off at some point in time. And yeah, it's kind of the plan. Keep it COVID-esque here with social distance and everything like that, but also kind of you need some family time at some point here. So
Yeah,
one way or another, whether it's Zoom or outside, whatever it is.
It all depends on the weather. If it's going to be nice out, we'll go do the sit outside. Far enough away around the fire pit type of thing. If it's not, hey, again, it's like everything else. We had Easter by ourselves. We did Thanksgiving by ourselves.
Same with us.
Can do Christmas by ourselves. New Year's by ourselves, and ring in 2021. Actually, I wanted to check. I wanted to look at the schedule for the show. It's unbelievable. This is episode 49 of the show, and 40 of these now have been virtual. It's kind of crazy to think about. So yeah, next week we're on the 27th, and then episode 51 of the show will take place in the year 2021. Hard to believe.
The year of light, hopefully.
So yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it for us here on the show this weekend. We're live every Sunday at 11 a.m. We broadcast simulcast to Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch. If you don't have social media, you can go find the 360 Sports Show's website. You can just search for the 360 Sports Show and it'll show up, and you can watch the embedded stream through there. You can like, follow, and subscribe to all of those platforms to never miss a show. Watch any past episode of the show. And if you want the 360 Sports Show on the go, subscribe to the podcast through Sounder FM and or wherever you get your podcasts from. So that'll do it for us here today. NFL action coming up in about 10 minutes. We did our top 5 favorite Christmas movies this week as well. Check those out on social media. Send us yours throughout the week as well. If you missed it here on a live broadcast, we'll still read them next week because I'm sure we'll still be in the holiday spirit. Christian, hope you have a healthy, happy, and safe holiday. Same to everyone out there listening, and we'll talk to everybody next week. Merry Christmas, everyone.